Corey, I don't know how much conversation you and Coach Hartline, Coach Day have right now because it's just February, but we all are curious about how reps will be managed, and you have a battle for the first time in a couple of years. Like, how much brainstorming is there to how to manage that properly?
No. So as you go through it, reps are obviously important, right? Like that's what makes a quarterback, and for a young quarterback, for his growth and development, are reps. So for him to get reps, those are something that you always think about and you always talk about and you've always done, right? You say there hasn't been one recently, but between Coach Day and myself, we've seen a lot of quarterback battles at Ohio State. So we've kind of managed it, and we've seen how to do it. It'll be for sure thought out, categorized, and we'll know who gets what play and when they get it and who they get it with.
When you go through the highest profile one that we all know, when Dwayne and Joe are going at it, how much do you learn from doing it multiple times?
Cardell and JT was a pretty big one too.
I wasn't sure how actively involved you were with
No,
that.
but I mean I was there every day. I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm sorry.
When you said you've been through it. It's not the first time that you guys have had to do this. What do you learn from managing them? Like, I don't know if we did this perfectly. Let's change that for the future. Like, how much of that goes on?
I think the one thing that's important, right, is the outside world paints this crazy, fierce quarterback battle. Now it is. It's uber competitive. Guys are always trying to maximize and guys are always trying to capitalize. But that room knows that they need each other, right? So those guys lean on each other in between plays or how they talk about things or, hey, what did you see? This is what I saw. They watch film together every day. So I think that's one piece that you've realized that you have to bring them together, and everybody's different, right? And so what one guy might need to work on, the other guy might not need to work on. And so how can you still, you obviously have to find your quarterback, but you're still trying to grow the room and elevate the room every day.
There's a perception that Kyle and Devin are pretty different athletically. How much of that is fair? I think Devin's got a good arm too, and Kyle can move a little bit. How much do you see them as really being very different athletic quarterbacks if you do?
I wouldn't say that they're night and day different, but they are different. But that's kind of what it is, with all quarterbacks. They all have different traits that one guy leans on, one guy may not lean on, one guy has a strength. And at the end of the day, it's you try to maximize all your weaknesses to get them to become strengths.
Coach Day said that he hopes that one guy can really step into that starting role coming out of the spring. Obviously, the last time when CJ was emerging as the starter, it wasn't called until the preseason. What are your hopes and expectations for that, and why is this year maybe different in that regard than before, if it is?
I don't think that it might not be different, right? Like during the competition in the past, right, you always want somebody to project and go and do it. So, but I'm on the same page as Coach Day. You hope someone jumps out and takes the reins, and they're the guy that in the spring for sure.
What were some of the biggest takeaways from that? Just coaching CJ Stroud, how he is going to run the NFL, just what was he like coaching him, and you talking with him since his declaration?
Yeah. There's been a lot of great quarterbacks come through Ohio State, starting with JT and Cardell and Joe, Dwayne, Justin, CJ, and they're all unique in so many different ways. I think one thing that separates CJ just even from everybody is just one was his vision of the field was unbelievable, and the work ethic that he put in the film room. And I think that what he's done in the film room the past couple of years has really set a foundation for the young guys. It's set a foundation for Kyle McCord. It's set a foundation for Devin, and they know what it takes, and they know the work that you have to put in to compete at a high level at a place like Ohio State.
Just having self-confidence play the role, especially with new tackles, new players around them, guys that are just trying to learn themselves as well. Is that weird? Jump like CJ was against Minnesota?
Yeah, self-confidence is huge. Like you see it all over the field. Why does a guy take a next step from high school to college to the pro? His talent didn't change. I mean, they've maybe been around different pieces, but yeah, you have to have self-confidence and you have to believe in yourself, especially at the quarterback position, because when you take the field and you look in a huddle, you want all those guys to sit there and look and believe in you. And so if they have confidence in you, then that kind of gives them a confidence in themselves.
In your experience, how did they get that without the game experience?
I mean, our practices are pretty competitive, right? I mean, we get after it every day, and getting reps in the spring, I mean, that's going to be critical. And that is a huge vital piece in developing a quarterback, and especially a young kid, is just getting those reps in whatever level it is, whether it's level at high school, getting those reps, or, you know, you see the rookie NFL guys, that crazy transition from year 1 to 2 because they've gotten those reps as well.
Murray, what kind of sold you guys on Lincoln?
I'm sorry?
What sold you guys on Lincoln, and what kind of he brings to the table, and kind of at what point were you like, yeah, this is a guy we wanted?
So Lincoln, just where he is recruiting, like South Dakota and all these kind of things, but then you look and he's an extremely productive guy. And then I was able to go watch a game, watch him play, and it was like 1 versus 2, another highly ranked team in the state, and the guy's a competitor, and he does everything, and he's extremely athletic. He competes. I mean, there was a 2-minute drive that, you know, he doesn't play defense, but they're like, hey, we know that they're going to throw it right here, and they put him back at safety. And I think he had an interception in the state championship game. But I just think his competitiveness, and then his production on the field, and then also him being an athlete and what he can do.
And with a guy like that, I mean, obviously it was kind of late in the process, so it wasn't really one that you could turn around and so he can be enrolled in the spring and things like that. But when you have a guy who's still in South Dakota, still going through high school, how do you encourage him? How do you kind of keep tabs on his development as he kind of prepares for that summer transition to your program?
Yeah, that's a great question. One is he'll come visit a bunch. He'll be up here for spring. He'll come see the things, and there's certain rules that, you know, you can do certain things with the guys, and so I mean we're constantly going. We're moving forward as if he is a quarterback at Ohio State right now.
Ryan was talking about Tristan and the job you did in identifying him and kind of the unique situation where he wants to be a coach and everything.
Yeah.
How did you find him in the portal? How did you get in contact? What stood out about him? Just can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, Tristan was in the portal. Someone reached out to me. We did our homework, and I mean, he's going to be a huge piece to have, right? He's going to be a guy who, you know, adds depth. I laugh. I think I'm closer to Tristan's age than he is to like Mason Maggs or something like that. So we were joking about it in the meeting room. So he's an old soul. It'll be good to have kind of a veteran guy, but I mean, he's played in big games. He's won big games. But just to see and just listen to him talk, the way he carries himself, that'll be a vital piece to have in the room for sure.
Did he come visit, or was it mostly just like?
No, yeah, it was an extremely quick process. I know he was packing up a U-Haul, headed somewhere, and then kind of got on the phone, and then he believed in Ohio State. He liked what we had here, and he made a right turn, I guess, and came out this way.
Was he planning to play next year? Or was he planning to coach somewhere?
He was still, he was still in the process. He was just kind of seeing what his options were and kind of going through there.
Was he headed home, and where was he headed? Do you remember?
He was headed to Columbus. That's what I know. He's packing up the U-Haul. I'm not sure where he was headed.
I don't know if
that's a long
the
drive.
age thing is more of a testament to how young you are or how old he is. That's
It's how old he is.
Definitely. Do you like having that as the fourth quarterback in the room, the guy who is maybe a little bit older and just brings a different dynamic to the room when you do have 3 other guys who are probably a little bit more talented and are probably trying to fight to start here?
Yeah, so we've done it in the past, right? With Chris Chuganoff, Gunnar Hoke, and those guys, if they can come in and, you know, just what value that they can have. And it's just that they've seen a lot of college football versus maybe guys who haven't seen it, and just they definitely help the process and they help the feel, and they're just good to have in the room. So, no, I love having guys.
And recruiting for you right now seems to be, hey, go find a guy. Okay, wait, go find a guy again. What's the difficulties of doing that? And is there any benefit to when you feel like there's more time to be able to make that happen?
So I want to answer your question. Expand on that.
Just with Lincoln, you had to go find him late because things happened. With Devin, you had to go find him late because things happened. CJ was kind of the same way because things happened. It just seems like this time around when things happen, that now there's a little bit more time on the clock. You're not trying to find a guy starting in August. Maybe now you're starting to find him now, where there's a little bit more time than 5 years.
Well, I don't think that really our timetable at Ohio State is what we're going to do what we think is best for Ohio State. And a lot of times it's watching a guy play his senior year. It's watching to see what he does and watching to see kind of his progression. So for us, just it's all case by case. So it really doesn't matter what the time is we just are looking for the right guy for Ohio State, if that makes sense.
So, because you can't talk about guys specifically, that's just making this kind of hard here. But when you do spend that much time, building a relationship with some guy, and you feel like you're going to build a class around a certain person, and then you have to change that, regardless of why you have to change it. How does that make your job difficult? How does it make your job? How does it change things for you and how you approach things?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. Okay, I'm gonna take another one.
When you were talking about Gunnar and Chris Stroganoff earlier, in their experience helping your room, where does that help the most? Is it watching film? Is it in meetings? Is it practice? Where does that kind of like show up the most? Like that veteran experience in the quarterback room?
No, I mean it's really all aspects of it, right? It's the day-to-day aspect, the way to, just a guy like Tristan, he's a 2-time captain. So just the way that he commands himself, the way that he presents himself on the field is unbelievable with, what he sees, and then also watching film. And like I believe you said earlier, he does want to be a coach, and so he's diving into it, and he loves to watch film, and so he grabs guys, or, he'll just, his veteranness in a room full of young guys, I mean, that's a great piece to have.
It's kind of rare in college because typically
sure.
You're not going to have it's hard to get somebody to stick around that long or come late in their careers to the spot because last couple of years your quarterback room's been really young.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes a right guy for sure.
Corey, as you address specifically Kyle and Devin, what is it you want? What is it you express to them that you want to see over the next couple of 3 months? You understand what I'm saying about from the standpoint of take the bull by the horns, don't press. I mean, what do you tell them? What's the encouragement, I guess, you give them, or the advice you give them about this battle that's about to ensue?
Well, I think what we do in the in the off-season program with Coach Mick gives all those guys an opportunity to be a leader and just be around the guys. And I think just right now at this point is just how can you be vocal, and we always talk about not really as a leadership aspect is like how can you be felt, like how when you walk into a room people know that, hey man, you just walked into a room. Where the great ones that we've had here at Ohio State, you knew exactly when Justin Fields walked into a room, you knew when JT walked into a room, you knew when CJ walked into a room, and I think that just letting them feel you is good, if that makes sense.
Can you truly be that leader though until you are anointed that you are the starting quarterback at Ohio State? Because does it look like maybe, how do you do that without faking it to a certain extent? You understand what I'm saying?
No, yeah, absolutely. But you still have to earn your respect as your teammates, right? And in that weight room over there with Coach Mick puts those guys in some strenuous spots, and you can definitely earn some respect out there. And I think that that's a good opportunity for them to just earn the respect. And man, those guys get after it. Those guys work hard. Those guys put in the work just like we do.
Yes.
But obviously, when you're the starting quarterback. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and real quick, I asked Ryan, do you really start off with a clean slate? Is this really a blank sheet of paper going into this off-season and spring and stuff with these guys? Is there such a thing as? And he said, pretty much you want to look at it as a race. I mean, I'm paraphrasing him there.
Yeah.
But do you have the same approach?
No, there definitely is a blank slate. I think that just the difference is the guys kind of know what areas that they want to work on, they want to improve on, and they want to go on. So, but no, absolutely, it's a blank slate, and it'll be a fun spring for sure.
Apologies if you've been asked this before, but what attributes do Kyle and Devin have that make them fit top grade this
Yeah, that's a great question. They're both different, but I think just the intangibles just right now for Ohio State is running the offense. I think Laffy said bull by the horns, but it's just how can you be efficient and how can you be productive. And I think that those are two things that we're going to look for in the spring, and how you can transition the offense, and can you run the offense, and can you be those two things, efficient, and then can you execute as well.
How surprising was Whitler's decision to go to the NFL draft, and just with the new starting quarterback next season, how important is that center quarterback connection and developing that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's definitely really important, whether it's protections and ID and doing all that, and we'll have some time to really work on that in the spring. But the Luke situation, not to rule your question, but I know Fry and all those guys, they handle that every day. I really wasn't involved too much with that discussion.
I know there's a lot of focus on the mechanical competition that's going to happen between these quarterbacks, the football competition, the on field. But how much are you guys evaluating intangible things, how guys are reacting to them, how they carry themselves around the team, how guys respond to them? How much of that is part of this evaluation process between now and opening day?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's such a big piece that not a lot of people take into consideration. But I think that a big part of that will start when we start mat drills. It's already started right now in the weight room with Coach Mick, and that's a big piece that I kind of talked about earlier. It's just the team feel you, do they gravitate you? Yeah, so you for sure take that into consideration. But at the end of the day, it is you got to go out there and you have to execute.
How do you feel like Kyle has handled what has been a tough thing just these past 2 years? You know, he came in very highly recruited, but knew the situation, knew that there was someone a year older than him, just as kind of the situation he's in now on the other side. But to wait your turn, how tough was that for him? And what did he show you guys through that experience?
It's always tough for those guys. It's not just tough for quarterbacks, it's tough for every position. Guys want to come in and they want to play, and you know what? They want to play right now. That's part of the reason that they're Ohio State. But on the flip side, as a player, you have to internally look at it and you say, all right, what do I need to do that when my opportunity comes, that I'm ready to maximize on it? So I don't think it's as much of focusing on, you know, I should be playing or I want to play, or it's when my time comes, am I ready to go, if that makes sense.
Coach, what did you see from Devin Brown this year?
In regards just
his attitude on the team, his role in practice here. You can see him on the field too often, but what'd you see from him?
Yeah, Devin's awesome. I mean, he's an athletic kid, great personality. Guys do gravitate to him. But it'll be fun to see when these guys get more reps, and that's what we're excited on in the spring. Seeing, you know, guys being able to take a lot of reps, and that's really what we're looking forward to.